this afternoon to seek your support and explain why I feel like I'm the most conservative candidate in this race. And I'll just address a couple of points real quick. Bart, you are very conservative, and I enjoyed that conversation. We had a great time talking. Where I differentiate with the Libertarian Party is more socially conservative. So that's probably, but he's right. You know, on the fiscal issues, we were dead on. This government has got to be reined in. And of course, you know, Gary, I've never served in office as a Democrat, so you and I differ there too. So I've always decided to take it. So I only have 7 minutes, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the issues because so many times I've had the opportunity to share with you the issues that where I stand on things. I'll go into a few of them, but I just really want to share with you the vision that I have, what I think it means, and what we need to understand as conservatives that we represent and that we should be believing in. Why is our nation in the crisis it is this hour? It's very important for us to understand that. We hear the term conservative quite a bit, and I hope that we do not become immune to that word. Sometimes when we say things over and over and over, it becomes normal to that. I believe that our four founding fathers were conservative to the core. That's why they gave their lives, they gave their fortunes and sacrifice for this young upstart America, because England was acting as a tyrant, and they knew that the rights of man came from their creator, not from the king. I feel that our federal government has lost sight of that fact, and so they tend to think that they're the giver of our rights. Now, I don't know about you, but I am absolutely fed up with Big Brother and their attitude of, we giveth and we taketh away. I've had enough of government thinking that they are the giver of our rights. America is in a state of conservative bankruptcy. Despite the many eloquent speeches that we hear from people all across the nation touting that they're conservative, they still think that we have the wool pulled over our eyes, but we don't. We're awake, we're alert, we're understanding what's going on in this nation, and we're fighting back. All we have to do is look at last year's voting record, and we can see, even after we demanded in 2010, cut spending, Congress continued to spend, delivering to Obama $3.1 trillion of the $3.73 trillion that he asked for in his budget. That is not conservative voting, and that is not cutting spending. In addition to that was the debt ceiling, which is going to place upon the burden of our children and our grandchildren in the next 10 years between $7 and $13.5 trillion in new spending. When our government spends more in 1 year than Bill Clinton did in his entire 8 years as president, then we have anything except conservatism flooding the streets of Washington. Our Congress flows through money like water flows through a ditch, and it's time that we put a stop to that spending. Do you realize that there are now over 400 government departments and agencies and multiple layers of bureaucracies within those? Many of those agencies are now armed. The FDA, the USDA, Department of Education, they're armed. This is our government. This is what we have come to have represent us. Our government's overstepped its boundaries at every single turn. For example, when on earth does our government feel that it has the liberty to run a fast and furious program and then act as if they've done nothing wrong? When the defense authorization bill, taking away from the citizens the right to due process, to indefinite detainment. When does our government feel like they have the right to send our tax dollars overseas in foreign aid to foreign nations while our own country is waning? Why do we run abroad in military conflicts without any declarations of war from Congress? Where is the law that prevents this atrocious overreach? And where is our Congress to stop it? The idea that there's no limits of the scope of the government's powers or the structure of its operation is absurd. The The year 1913 is evidence of a government running out of bounds and off of the playing field. It was a dark year for this nation. It was a dark year for our Constitution. And our government has been treading on our rights, our liberties, and our freedoms ever since. The founders believed in constitutionalism because it limits the powers and structure of our government based upon principles that are agreed upon in advance, the rule of law. Law that applies to everyone, including our congressional members. Our founders were imperfect men, but they were led by a perfect God in their quest to create a nation that would lead as the beacon of hope for liberty in the world. They understood that federalism is a fundamental principle of our government and is central to the constitutional structure of America. It's preserved in our 10th Amendment, which explicitly states that the national government has limited powers, and those powers not delegated to it in the Constitution are reserved for the states, for the people. Governor Jane is absolutely within her power to protect her state. By golly, since the federal government is not doing it, the people need to. The whole idea of the separation of powers prevents the same people from making, executing, and applying their laws. This is where modern bureaucracy is messed up. Right now, we have modern bureaucracy making laws, investigating and enforcing them, and then judging those who violate them. This is an egregious overstep of our rights and liberties, and our founders would not recognize our nation today. I believe their hearts would break to see such agencies as the EPA with a runaway dominion to eclipse the freedoms of our businesses and our citizens. Over the past 100 years, and with heightened speed in the last few decades, the federal government has steadily extracted the power from the states. And the sad thing is that we, as the citizens, we're guilty because we've allowed it. But I believe it is time. It's time in 2012 to take that power back. In today's politics, our Constitution is not only ignored, it is openly mocked as an archaic and irrelevant document. This is another one of those words that I don't want us to ever become immune to, constitutionalism. It's what our country is founded. It's what protects us. It's what keeps our government from coming in and taking everything away from us. However, I think that in this room, all of us would agree that just because the government fears the Constitution, they're trying to keep us from operating under it. Why? Because they know the restraint of the Constitution would bind them down from mischief. I think it's time we bind down this government from the mischief that they've been placing upon the American citizens for many, many years. With the Super Bowl coming up, many are focused on football. So if I can borrow from the analogy of football for just a moment, we, in this room, we the people, and America, are in the game of our lives, the mother of all Super Bowls, if you will. We cannot win by only playing defense. We have to go on the offense. We have to be pro-capitalist, pro-personal responsibility, pro-America based on her original foundation as a nation formed and blessed by the hand of providence. If we're going to win this game, then we have to play by the rule book that produces victory, and that is the U.S. Constitution. It's time for representatives and senators who have a vision for scaled-back governance to work for us in the halls of Congress. We cannot win this with armchair quarterbacks sitting in office making policies while knowing little or nothing of the vision of our founders. And if we don't have representatives and senators who will fight on the offensive line to uphold their oaths to the Constitution, then we're going to lose this game. I want to bring integrity, principle, and persistence back to this office. Congress is at an all-time low with about 11% rating on their overall popularity in America, and we can understand why. I've about had enough of people saying one thing and doing another. I don't have any character assassination against our current representative, but I have a real beef with all his voting. He's voted to spend more money last year than in the entire 8 years of Clinton as president. That's an egregious overstep. That's a reneging on his word when he ran for office and said, I won't vote for any spending. And many of you heard the same thing I heard. I was on the campaign trail with him a lot, heard him say that. There was an opportunity in Congress last year to vote for an amendment that would have cut funding by $1.93 billion to the EPA. As I've traveled through the districts and I've talked to business owners and many citizens, I found that the EPA is #1 on people's bad list. The businesses are furious with the overstep of the EPA, and it's a bureaucracy that has no accountability. Our congressman voted to allow them to keep that $1.93 billion, and that was a significant step that he could have taken in defunding or helping to defund the EPA. We have so many things going on in this nation that the right hand barely knows what the left hand is doing. But when you have appropriation bills that are on autopilot, that come up each year, and they have a set amount for spending, and then you take those to committee and you tack on amendment after amendment after amendment that will increase spending, then we have a problem with what's going on in our government. This health care that everybody's so stirred up with, Obamacare as we refer to it, Congress had a significant vote. And you're right, when you refer to that, that was the H.R. 1. But they knew it was only symbolic. It was never going to pass the Senate. So our representative as a doctor, who said that he would go and work to repeal Obamacare, should have been working on every single one of those appropriations and saying, if you want my vote, then by golly, you're going to repeal some piece of this Obamacare, because I'm not going to vote for anything that doesn't at least help strip that bill apart. When I ran in 2010, I ran with no allegiance to anyone other than the people, and that's how I'm running again. I don't have any interest in I can't remember which one of the speakers talked about owing people, getting in there and getting involved with the PACs and the lobbyists and owing them something and raising money for those. I've never been that way. I run on the Republican ticket because I believe in the Republican platform, and I believe that we, as conservatives, can take that platform back. In the 1900s, there was a split in the Republican Party. It was the stalwarts and the progressives. And that had to happen because there was that conservative bloc who said, this is the way that we want to see our nation ran. And I don't think that we need to abandon the Republican Party. I think we need to get in there and reform it, just like we need to get into Congress and reform Congress. So I'll close with this. The people of the nation have little confidence and trust in our congressional members. Because as some of you may remember, and this is going back a little while, and this is back from high school, the Naked Eye song that said, you made me promises, promises I knew you'd never keep. That's what we've been hearing a lot from members of Congress. Promises, promises that they have no intention to keep. That's why I don't make promises. Then I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to break them or not. I'm going to do one thing, and that's uphold my oath to the Constitution. And when I go to Congress and I vote, I will be voting according to the Constitution, staying in touch with the people and letting you know why I voted that way, and letting you know what's hidden in those bills so that you understand why I voted the way I did. And then when I come back here, I intend to be with the people, giving you ammo, giving you the insights and the evidence that you need to continue to fight with me, because we can't do this alone. It takes a team. I want to change everything that's going on in Congress, but I know that not one person can do it. But we've got to start somewhere. And I think that it's time for the 8th District of Indiana to rise up, to be the leader in this nation, to set the precedents so that all the other congressional districts around us in this state and in the nation, or in the other states around us, will look to the 8th and say, that's how it's supposed to be done. I want to bring back to this seat integrity and principle. I want to ask you today for your vote, because as conservatives, we have to work as a team. We have to come together and we have to right the many wrongs in government. Each player is just as important as the next. But I played basketball and I ran track, and we always had to have a team captain. So what I've come to today to ask you is if you will understand how important you are to the future of America, but if you will allow me to be your team